Well, hello. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Coffee with Steven. So, this week's blog is entitled Cowboys and Refugees. And you probably have an understanding just by the title of what we're going to be talking about. About a week and a half ago, there was a photograph that was taken of the United States Border Patrol on mounted horseback. They were wrangling Haitian refugees that were trying to sort of self deploy into the United States. The Border Patrol was tasked with keeping them from actually crossing over the border. And the most efficient way of deploying personnel into that particular region is on horseback. There is a sort of an iconic picture of a Border Patrol officer. It's actually just an unbelievably bitchin' looking picture. But he's on horseback. It's an action scene, for lack of a better term. There's a Haitian immigrant that's in front of him trying to dodge the horse. The horse is in full gallop. He's holding the reins to the horse in his left hand, and you can see the distal ends of the reins sort of flapping in the breeze. Now, to anyone who's ever been on horseback before, there's nothing particularly provocative of this image, right? It's what effectively is a cowboy on a horseback trying to, protect the border from somebody crossing on in. To people that look at this with a nefarious intent, and candidly, people who have never been on horseback before, they imagined that the reins that were kind of flapping off into the breeze were in fact a whip, some sort of implement that the wrangler was using for the purposes of, using some degree of force on the immigrant. And the fact that there is a, Caucasian black connection here evoked images of slavery and barbarism and systemic racism and everything like that. Now, those of us who do ride horses, by definition, didn't see anything like that because it was simply a piece of gear flapping in the breeze. But to people who are of a sort of predetermined idea that everything that takes place within a racial context, not only did they see the image as being nefarious, but they actually started to misconstrue what was actually taking place. And this is problematic on a number of fronts. The most ironic aspect of this is that Kamala Harris, who was tasked by President Biden with what effectively would be becoming our border czar, suddenly decided to start speaking. For months, she's been absolutely silent, refuses to even call the border incursions a crisis. But now she found something to sink her teeth into. This was abject racism. It was monstrous behavior, and she was going to get to the bottom of it and launch investigations. The President of the United States himself said that people will pay. Not entirely sure what they will pay with, since they weren't doing anything illegal. In fact, nothing even remotely nefarious was taking place. But that notwithstanding, the fact of the matter is, this imagery is more important than the substance as to what's actually taking place. So this is what they've decided to focus their ire on. In the blog, not only do I obviously talk about this, but I talk about the fact that there's an oddity associated with this entire sort of scheme of events. The Haitians, who arguably have justification for fleeing Haiti post assassination of their president, they didn't go to the Dominican Republic. They didn't sail their ships to Cuba, which would have been the closest landmass to do so. They bypassed Cuba, they sailed to Tampico, Mexico. When they reached Tampico, Mexico, they didn't set up a refugee camp. The United Nations didn't start assisting the Mexican government in processing these political refugees. Instead, they tracked all the way across the country through the desert and wound up at the Rio Grande trying to gain entrance into the United States. So there were numerous instances where the United Nations, along with the host governments, could have taken steps to engage in what could best be described as a humanitarian crisis, but these were completely overlooked, and nothing has even been mentioned about them. The simple, irritation on the part of the left and in this particular context, it seems to be focused primarily on the left, is the fact that the United States is not allowing these people to come in masse. And that has its own unique agenda associated with it as well. In any event, I hope you do enjoy reading the blog. There is some discussions about the use of the term cowboy and whether or not that's inherently sexist in and of itself. I think you might find that amusing. The blog will be up on the website, as always, on Wednesday morning. Now, for those of you who've actually listened to this entire video to this particular point, I do want to give you an opportunity to sign up for another program that we're doing. This Wednesday evening, I believe it's the 29th, Wednesday the 29th, we are going to be doing another Drinks with the Major and the Captain. Actually, Drinks and Cigars with the Major and the Captain, where Major Taramina and myself will be in the backyard smoking cigars, becoming inebriated on our particular choice of whiskey, and pontificating about the state of Second Amendment jurisprudence. You can sign up for that program, get the Zoom link by simply going to artemishq.com, going to our calendar, or you can call on in and get signed up. It's perfectly free. It's 949-305-6586 if you're interested in listening to that 1 hour presentation. Again, as always, train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. Above all else, stay safe, buckaroo.